Shalom, Yasharala. All praises to the Most High, Yah. So recently, Durski made a video. Let's watch it.
That's right! 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 Receive this word, my man. That's right! That's right! That's right! You celebrate Christmas, don't you, brother? Yes, you do. That is a white holiday. White holiday? Black power! Black is power! Black is power! That's right! That's right! That's right! That's right! Black is power! Black is power! Oh, man. Brother, can I speak to you, please? Bro? Lost another one. Do you feel as if this is right? Boys, you need to come join us, bro. That's right! You need to come join us. That's right! That's right! We are not equal. We are. That's right! Our ancestors did not live for this. That's right! Poison! 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 You will not stop our brothers and sisters from the Constitution. That's right! That's right! I'd rather be in the cell than to be in hell. That's right! Free man! Free man! Free man! Free man! Free man! Free man! That's right! John in the window, chapter 16. That's right. A white man will beneath, beneath emancipated souls. That's right. That's right.
How can I help you, sir?
I do not need help. I will assist myself. What form of payment for this, please?
Easy for you.
Is it because my skin is black?
We out here bringing our people back to the law, statutes, and commandments, man. We do not follow rules made by white men. We do not follow rules made by white men. You are not a sister, and you will not proceed to be a sister.
I'm sorry.
That's right! That's right! That's right!
So from an outside perspective, black politics has got to be one of the craziest things for somebody who isn't black to observe, right? The ways that black folks identify themselves, whether we consider ourselves to be FBA, foundational Black Americans, Moors, Hebrew Israelites, Nuwapians, it can go African, African American, Black, American Black. It's one of those things that you can tell within a perspective of what it is to be Black. It's not a monolithic narrative, right? It's not a monolith narrative. We're not one thing by any means, right? But for an outside observer to really see the nuances and the ways that us as so-called Black folks see ourselves shows the complexity of what narrative has done to us, right? So one of the things that I will say is Blackness in America has such a complicated narrative because of the identity that was stripped from us. They took our native tongue. They took our actual indigenous culture, whether you consider us African American or you consider us indigenous to the Americas, that was taken away from us. So the observation of the ways that we have these conversations and what it is to be Black in America in the 21st century is even more complicated. Why? Because now we're not just fighting over racial identity, because the term Black is a recent term. Before that, we were called colored. We've been called Negro. Black was a term that was advocated within the late 1960s, 70s, into the 80s. Now, it was a term that was used, but it could almost be considered derogatory when we're talking about it in the 1950s and such. Now, the Hebrew Israelite. Now, I do identify myself as Hebrew. I also identify myself as Moor. I also identify myself as foundational Black American. Now, the thing about it is, I'm all of these different things, right? My practices are very biblically based. I do believe in Christ. I believe in being like Christ and walking as Christ. I also believe in law, statutes, and commandments and following those. Even though I fall short of those regularly, I strive to be in that alignment. The thing about it is, when we're talking about the Bible, when we're talking about the Torah, these are books that were already innately and indigenous within most indigenous cultures, Black cultures, and tribes. So us being the people of the Bible isn't a far-fetched narrative. It's only far-fetched for those because they've been indoctrinated. The thing about indoctrination that we have to understand is that indoctrination is something that has taught all of us a backwards way of looking at the world, looking at race, looking at identity. All of these different things play into the construct of what we currently deal with as so-called Black Americans, but also just as Americans, if you really want to get root to it. So we trust the facts that have been put onto us, as some of us call charlatan's web, right? When we're talking about Wikipedia or all of these different references of information, there is truth in it, which makes it tricky because even lies have a little bit of truth in it. But there's also reference of identity that can be referenced in research from our own bloodlines. Now, when we're talking about this whole skit that was going on from Durski, it's just a clear indicator of where we're at, right? I don't subscribe to camps. I am Hebrew. I don't subscribe to the camps. Why don't I subscribe to the camps? I don't subscribe to anything that feels religious. I don't subscribe to anything that feels like it could be a cult. I don't subscribe to none of that. And that's not me knocking the people who decide to walk in these camps, whether we're talking about IUIC or whether we're talking about any of the other camps that are out there. But what I will say is that it is not a mistake that these styles of narratives are put out there of our people who identify as Hebrew, with these gentlemen being the loudest voices on the streets, right? Is that a true depiction, or is that a true reflection of who we are? No. It's way more complicated. When people do identify as Hebrew, it's not a religion, it's a bloodline. It's them taking back that lineage. Now, does that mean that we're anti-white? No. Does that mean that we're anti-Jew? No. It just means that we identify ourselves as part of the 12 tribes. Now, there are things that are attached to the law, statutes, and commandments. There are things that are attached to the history and the narrative of what it was for us to be those people of the Bible. There's things that can get racial because it does go into nationality, but I don't feel like that's the main thing that we have to actually observe. When we're talking about Christ, when we're talking about walking law, statutes, and commandments, when we're talking about a system that is made to oppress us, regardless of race, we all fall into the same place in that, regardless of how we feel about everything that goes into that. So I think that this is an important conversation to have because, yeah, there are those who are in the camps who are offended from it, but they also have to understand that, yo, you represent all of us if you're out there on the corner. And if we identify as this, because there's such a narrative of that, that means we all take the brunt of it. So him pointing that out is kind of how the world sees y'all. And the thing about it is, we're not telling you that you need to tone it down. We're just saying that, you know what, that's what it looks like to us too. And we identify within the same bloodline as y'all. Feel how you want to about that. That's not fighting words. Those are articulate observations of things that we've noticed within our own community and why we try to separate ourselves from that. Because the first thing that people hear when they hear you say that you're a Hebrew or that you're an Israelite, or if you're of that you're racist, that you hate them, that you don't want to identify with anything of faith outside of that. That's religious. You are the Sadducees. You are those religious figures in the New Testament when you get down to the root of it, if you only can observe outside, only observe within that. I'm not saying don't speak the truth. I'm not saying don't speak the truth of Torah, but I'm just saying that within the reflection and the ways that the world sees y'all, it also falls back on all of us. And there's a lot of nuances in the ways that we believe. Not all of us believe in Christ. Some of us are straight up Torah believers, right? Not all of us believe in being in camp. Some of us are solo individuals that think for themselves and have their own ways of observing Torah. Those are things that need to be taken into consideration. His observation may piss you off, but it's still his observation. And like, he's not blaspheming. One thing that I will say is that he didn't say nothing about the Most High in it. He said things about politics. He said things about race. He said things about camps. He ain't say nothing about God. He ain't say nothing about Yahuwah. All he talked about was specifically Yah. And if that is something that is controversial, maybe we should all take accountability and observe where we're at as individuals. And that's not me throwing jabs at camps, but that's me saying, like, where are we truly at as a people? You know what I'm saying? And just like I said, the Black narrative has got to be an interesting thing for outside nations to look at, because we have some of the most interesting feuds within our own bloodlines, within our own communities, whether we're talking about it from an African-American diaspora or from an African's perspective. We don't see things in the same ways, and that's cool. But I feel like we do have to like take accountability for our parts in the ways that some of those observations may look. Just wanted to drop that on you. Shalom. I'm out. Bless.
What y'all doing after this? After party or something? What's your name in Pakistan?
Beverly.
Bullshit. You thinking hell?
That's Lisa.
Nah, that's dope.